Okay, can everybody see?
Yes.
Yep. Looks good.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna do something a little different today. This week, my daughter, who's 22 years old, passed her real estate exam, and she's been helping me with marketing. And so we've been doing a lot of brainstorming about how I could help her start out. She has a mentorship and a partnership going up here in Sacramento area with one of the top performers. So that's really great. And so I was thinking, okay, well, what would I do? So what would I do if I was just starting out in real estate, or if I wanted to revamp my marketing, or if I was starting or revamping any business, because these principles could apply to pretty much any business, but I'll focus mostly on real estate. So there's a couple of hard realities. I think you guys probably are all familiar with a lot of them. One is that there are a gazillion ways to spend money on marketing and advertising. And everyone wants to sell you their program. And I know this because I manage social media for quite a few real estate agents, and I see the messages that come in with pitches constantly. And it can be overwhelming. If you don't know, where to spend your money or your time, then it can be overwhelming, especially when you're first starting out. And so the reality is that you're highly unlikely to do all of your own marketing to perfection. And if you do, you can't do it well and manage your business at the same time. So I'm going to cut through some of the noise here today and talk about what I would do if I were first getting started. My main objective from starting out would be to get as much online exposure as I could. Yes, there's a lot of physical marketing that could be done, but online has a much more vast exposure. You can reach people throughout the world, really. And I feel like that would be the biggest bang for my buck. So I'd really want to focus on getting online, and I'd want to do it quickly. I'd want to automate or outsource as much as I could. And I wouldn't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars because I'm just starting out. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars. And so in most cases, there's setup costs, and that's usually you can get started for less than $4,000 just to set everything up. And then depending on how much outsourcing help that I would want, I could spend an average of $1,500 per year thereafter if I do it all myself, and then all of my time to do it all. Or as I grow, I would want to outsource it. And this is just an average kind of based on my services, but a full outsource would probably be a little less than $1,000 a month. And if you break it down, it would be like paying a marketing assistant $5.77 an hour. And everything I'm talking about today doesn't include blogging because that's a little bit separate, but highly recommended, by the way. And then the next thing I would do, my objective would be to get involved in the community. I would join the Chamber of Commerce in whatever target areas I'd want to be in. And you guys have a lot of chambers down there. I have one or two up here, and I'm involved in both of them. And then I would volunteer in the community based on my interests and where I feel like I could help. Okay, so for the strategy, the core foundation for all of this strategy would be to have my own website. Now, Greg has been generous to have you guys all be on his website, and I think that's very important so that they see how large the team and support is from BRG. But in order to have your own website, there are several reasons why I would want to have my own website. And one is I have control over it, and I would be focused. I want to get as much focused on getting exposure on search engines, so that when people search for me for real estate in whatever area I'm supporting, that I have a greater chance of coming up higher in the search results. That's what search engine optimization is. And the key to everything online is getting exposure so that you show up on Google, basically. That's kind of everybody's end game goal. And then all the online assets that I would create after that would point to the website, because people want more information. If they see you in one place, they're going to want more information, and the most likely place that they're going to go is to your website. So what I want on my website is I'd want to have my unique proposition, selling proposition, all about me and why they should choose me. I would want to showcase my listings and solds, or if I'm in another industry, I would do other successes or case studies. And if I don't have any listings or solds yet, then I would pull from like BRG, for example, anybody that has there, or I would pull from the MLS and feature some properties that you would be able to, I'd be able to show to people, just so that it looks like I'm active if I don't have my own yet. And then I'd want social proof. That usually comes in the form of testimonials. And if I didn't have a place to start with that, I would ask colleagues first. If I didn't have any customers yet, I would ask colleagues or people that are, kind of associated with me, whether they provide services to me or I provide services to them. I would want to get some testimonials on my site for social proof. And I would have an active blog. I'm a writer, so for me, this comes very easily and I love doing it. But the types of things I would put on the blog is information about community, real estate news and tips. It doesn't have to be a long post each time, but, a quick thing telling what's happening, what's going on in the neighborhood, or some market news or anything like that. And then I'd want to make it easy for people to reach me. So contact information front and center would be my ideal. And then to be able to build my email list, because part of my overall strategy for being more visible online is going to include emailing people. Okay, so this is where everything would start for me. And if you want to know how much it costs, you can do something like Squarespace or Wix, and you can spend like $30 a month, but then you'd have to spend a whole ton of time to design it, learn it, create the content and all of that. An example of what we provide is we don't charge a design fee for up to the first 5 pages, and it's only a fixed cost of $99 a month. So in everything that I'm going to talk about here, I tried to factor in the time cost, because you're spending 50 hours to learn how to set up your website. You're not spending 50 hours prospecting or getting out there and making transactions happen. So I put in the time factor for each thing. Okay, so from my website, I would then go to create local directories online. Local directories, I'm going to give you some information about that. What they are is they are basically directories all over the internet. And why they're cool is you can have a consistent presence with accurate information all across the internet on every directory. And I've done this for Greg, and I think others have done it for other people too. And there are tools you can use. The reason to do it is people are constantly searching on their mobile devices, and the directories are key for showing up on mobile search. And so whenever somebody is in a location, if they're searching on mobile, and it could be a location-based search, then you have a higher likelihood of coming up on a local directory on their phone. And then this, like many other things, create links back to your website, because in every directory listing, you're going to have a link to your website. And that, of course, helps your search engine optimization and getting found on Google. And then you're actually utilizing whatever platform's SEO that they have in place. So some of the examples would be Google My Business. That's the best example I can give you, because if you are searching for if somebody is searching for you and you show up on Google My Business, then that's the highest search engine optimization you can get. Then there are other options like Yelp and Around Me, and I mean, there's just a ton of them. What you want to do is you want to look legitimate in Google's eyes. And when you claim your spot on all of these directories, that gives you legitimacy in Google's eyes, which again, all reflects back to better SEO for you. And then you can use automation tools to get your listings on 50 to 70 or even more sites, and do it kind of like a one-time thing where you fill out all of the information, and then service will go out and populate all of your information on the directories. So examples, I mentioned Google My Business. I know that Bill knows a lot about this. I think he knows more about this than I do. And it's also just really the thing that comes up on maps. No matter where you are, Google Maps comes up first, and Google My Business listings come up first. Then, of course, Yelp. I mentioned the Yelp, Around Me, Yellow Pages. I mean, I could go on. I could even provide a list, but there are a ton of directories out there that I would want to get my business on ASAP. And then the cost for this is generally, depending on what service you use, is $500 or $750. Some services charge this year after year. I have a service that I've used that only charges one time. And so if you then have access to all of your directory listings, and if you ever want to change it, you can either pay that platform to change, phone number, address, or whatever information you want, or you will have access to go in and do it yourself. So there are a lot of different options out there for that. Okay, so we've talked about my website and the local directories. The next thing I would do is focus on social media, which is probably no big surprise to anybody that I'm going to mention social media. It's one of my favorites. And so why social media? We've talked about this in other meetings, but your goal is to build trust, authority, and likability. You want to be interacting with followers where they hang out, and people hang out on social media. And then you want to have consistent information on each of the social media platforms, just like you would want in the business directories, because in essence, these are additional directories. And then of course, links back to your website for SEO. If I were to prioritize what I'd want to do first, this might not be a surprise either, but I love LinkedIn. I am passionate about it. I work on it a lot, and I think it's the biggest opportunity out there. And I think that real estate agents are not utilizing it to its full potential. And some people are, but a lot of people don't. And then I would say Facebook after that, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and then bonus bucks, I would throw in TikTok and YouTube. Those would be the priorities of what I would do. If I were to do it, have somebody set it up for me, or do a makeover, we charge $500 to $1,000 one time just to get everything lined up. We'd have your, branding, look and feel, everything would be consistent across all platforms. And then you can do it yourself. There's a lot of tools out there that will automate it, and some of them have templates. We have a do-it-yourself automation program that you can do, and it's $49 a month. We have a white label for Promo Republic, which has a bunch of templates in there and a lot of templates for real estate. Plus we add real estate posts in there that we create ourselves too. So that's something that you could do yourself easily for just $49 a month and a couple of hours per week. If you wanted us to post for you, then we post 3 times per week for $179 a month. It's all custom for you and your brand and your website. And that is a discount for what we normally charge for other outsiders outside of BRG. So now we have my website, local directories, all my social media set up. Now I want to grow my LinkedIn. And so how am I going to do that? First of all, why? Your ideal client is on LinkedIn. You may not realize it, but they are. Consumers are professionals. And so the people on LinkedIn are educated, they're professional, and the average income across the US is 100K. Now, 100K doesn't sound like a lot in the Bay Area, but when you average that across the whole United States, that's pretty high, actually, for any of the social platforms. So they're definitely people that have the potential to afford a home. And people like to network. They expect business networking on LinkedIn. And you can also utilize LinkedIn to grow your email list. So my tactics for doing this is I first start out with advanced searches on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I send out custom connection requests to people that match my criteria. I send a follow-up thank you message after they accept my contact or connection request. And then I send a follow-up message or messages thereafter to continue the conversation. And then I take all of the results and export the emails into MailChimp so that I can email them. So the cost for this, I have a great tool that you could use that's $49 a month. It's not my tool, but it's one that I've used, and I've used a lot of them, and I highly recommend it. And you would probably expect to spend 10 or more hours per month, even using the automation tool. But we have a service. We would do it for you for $500 a month. We normally charge $1,000 a month, and people get a lot of value out of this. And maybe Greg could even speak to some of the value he's gotten. But it's a really highly powerful lead generating tool, and I love it personally. All right, so we've got my website, local directories, social media, LinkedIn growth, and then there's one more component that I would want to add, and that is a monthly newsletter. The reason that I'd want a monthly newsletter is because not everyone's going to be on social media all the time, although they are quite a bit, but they may not see my posts. And so if they are connected or following a lot of businesses or people, then the news feed flies by really quickly. So they may never see my post. And most people still do open their email. And so it's said that for every dollar spent on email, the average return is $34, which is pretty high, especially compared to something like, Google ads or Facebook ads. Plus you're staying in front of them on a different venue. And that helps to extend the trust, authority, and likability factor. So the best way to do it, we talked about this in one of my previous presentations. I like MailChimp because they have a free account. And I think, Brian, you were the one, or somebody mentioned that you can have up to 2,000 people for the free account, and you are correct. That is true. You can set up a template that you can simply duplicate and use each time. And then import emails each month. If you have business cards or new clients, you can also put them on your list so that you can continue to email them. And then I'd work on a content strategy. So I'd want to think about, what do I want them to see in my newsletter? Because it can be, you can do a lot of things, or you could just be very specific. And I would want to think about who my target is and what kind of content they would be interested in. And I would come up with my strategy. So the cost for this is you can do it yourself with automation, which is MailChimp. And MailChimp, you can set it up to have different drip accounts or drip messaging as well. And it's free for the first 2,000 email addresses that you have. So that's a very cost efficient way to do it. And you can probably expect to spend 4 hours per month for one newsletter. And then we have clients that we do it for $299 a month, but we have a program for BRG only that's $199 a month. It's completely customized and branded to you, your information, your testimonials, your links, and it goes out once a month, and we manage all of it. So that's kind of everything. And I just put a wrap up for the costs and the different strategies and what it would be, and included the amount of man hours, because I think that's so important to think about. You've got so many hours in a day, just like everybody else. And if you're spending them doing all of this, then you're not spending time with your clients, finding clients, or helping them with transactions. And so I also wanted you to get an idea. I'm not necessarily pitching. I'm trying to showcase that it is approachable and attainable to outsource this. And it's highly recommended. And I would do the same thing exactly, although I do my own marketing, obviously. But if you look at the grand totals, you could do it yourself for, $1,500 per year, plus a good 882 hours. Or you could have it done for you with every single thing on here, except for setup fees. And it would cost you $5.65 an hour. So it's just to kind of shed light on really what the reality of the cost is when you put it all together and have everything working together. The takeaways, so if I was starting out or revamping my business, then I would focus my resources on online first and grow that. I'd focus on being active in the community. And once established, I would, and making some money, I would add print media, YouTube videos with local commerce, sponsorships, and probably radio. That would be the next step after I'm doing really well and selling tons of properties. So that's kind of an overview. Any questions?
Well, I wanted to do a testimonial for you, Claudia. You've been working for me, doing all of this now for over a decade, rather. And
thanks, Greg.
I have created a email of approximately 50,000, and I have 30,000 LinkedIn. And Claudia, I have 2 Facebook accounts that are totaling 8,000. So I guess I'm kind of like your poster child, huh?
Yeah, you are. You are. Well, anyways, and I think that's the thing I want to say about that, Greg, too, is that it's also a testimonial to how marketing really does help. I can remember being at one of your first networking events when we first started working together, and somebody came up and you asked them, well, how'd you hear about the event? And he said, oh, I saw it on Twitter. And so, really getting the word out and keeping it consistent has been what helps you